Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hope all is well. So, y'all, today we have a special guest on today's episode, which I'm really excited to have. His name is Dr. Al Lycka, and I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Dr. Al. And if I don't, please don't butcher me.
Lycka is fine.
Okay. His credentials are impeccable. I don't know if he's still practicing cosmetic surgery, but at one point in time, he did that. He was part of skin cancer removal, which he had a pretty high success rate. He's written 17 books, and he is the co-founder of Doctors for the Practice of Safe and Ethical Aesthetic. I don't know what all that means, but it sounds pretty exciting. And that's just some of what he's accomplished in this world. So, Dr. Al, before I give everything away about who you are and what you bring to today's episode, I'll stop and I'll pause and I'll let you take over from now and share your journey. But before I do, I would like to say on behalf of myself and the podcast, Fast Forward Mindset Motivation, we are excited to have you on today's episode.
Thank you, Coach James. It's my pleasure to be here. You know, I've been a world-leading cosmetic dermatologist, but that life changed in 2003 when I was walking in Disneyland with my wife and my youngest daughter. What happened is my wife turned to me and said, "What's wrong with you, hon?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Huh? What do you mean, what's wrong with it?" She said, "Your foot is flat." I said, "What do you mean? That's a stupid thing to say." "Oh, listen to your foot." And my right foot had suddenly and mysteriously developed a foot drop. It was flopping on the pavement with each step
Wow.
I was taking. She said, "Did you have a stroke?" I said, "Dear, you're a doctor. I'm a doctor. If I had a stroke, I'd be lying on the pavement, twitching and doing something unimaginable." She said, "Well, there's something wrong." She said, "When we get back, you better get it checked out." And when your significant other says you better get it checked out, what do you do, Coach James?
You get it checked out.
Got it right. So I got it checked out. I went to see friends that were doctors. They sent me to more doctors. They sent me to more doctors. They were befuddled. They hadn't got a faintest clue. You know, they did CAT scans. They did brain scans. They even did scans. And you know what they showed at the end of the day, Coach James? They showed absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And you know what a doctor does when he finds absolutely nothing?
Oh, it's crazy, right?
He goes crazy and he orders more tests and more tests and more tests. I think I had every test known to man.
Wow.
They still showed absolutely nothing. So they sent me to a world leading neurologist. You know, neurologist is the brain guy. He's got all the answers to all those questions. So I went to see him. I walked in. He was sitting at an immense glass desk, one piece of paper on it. I walked in and I said, "Hi." He said, "Hi back. You better be sitting down when I tell you this." I said, "Why? I've got a dropped right foot." He said, "No, you don't. You have ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Get your affairs in order. You have 6 months to live."
Wow.
That hit me like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at him and I said, "Is there a way to prove this diagnosis?" He said, "Of course, an autopsy." I said, "You know, I'm not going to die to prove you wrong." So I left that office. I slammed the door.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out. Somehow I made it to my car and I cried for hours. Somehow I made it home. I told my wife what was going on. And she said, "I don't know what you have, but you don't have that." So when fate hits you with a face like that, Coach James, you go through the phases of death and dying that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote in her book on death and dying. First, you go anger. When you go through trauma like that, you get angry. You get angry at the world. You get angry
Wow.
at everything. Why not? I mean, my life was just taken away from me. You go through bargaining. Oh God, please don't let this happen. I'll do anything if you don't let this happen. But I didn't think he was listening to me. You go through denial. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong. I just have a dropped right foot. It's probably nothing. That my right hand became involved. And I was a right handed cosmetic surgeon. I couldn't do things with my right hand that I used to do. And you know what a right handed cosmetic surgeon does when he can't do surgery with his right hand?
He learns how to use his left hand.
You got it. He left hand. And you know, the old thing about doing something 10,000 times, you get
Mhm.
good at it. Well, that's what I did. I got very good at it. And I could do anything with my left hand that I could do with my right hand. You go through depression. Coach James, have you ever been depressed?
Yes, I have been.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
It's a very eerie feeling because you can't shake it no matter what you do.
Yeah, you can't sleep. You can't.
Mhm.
You stay in bed all night staring at the ceiling. You can't
Mhm.
get out of bed in the morning, and life has no meaning. Everything is black. Everything is really bad. You know, I had a plan to kill myself because I
Mhm.
wasn't going to die drowning in my own secretions like I'd seen other people do with ALS.
Wow.
But if anybody is that black, don't do anything stupid.
Mhm.
Coach James, there is always hope. You were depressed. I was depressed. And look, we are here today as living that you can overcome depression. So, to your audience, seek help if you're depressed. Go and ask for help. Make sure you seek out a person that can make a difference for you. And don't do anything stupid. For me, I went to my wife and I said to my wife, I don't know what to do. Look, I'm told I got ALS. I'm getting worse. What do I do? She said, you know, you're smart. You'll figure it out.
Mhm.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. But I've seen every doctor I know. And she said, well, perhaps you haven't seen the one doctor that has the answer to your solution, to your problem. And so back in 2003, something brand new was invented. You might
Mhm.
have heard about it, Coach James. That something brand new was the internet. You ever heard of something called the internet?
No, never. Never in my life.
We all live by it. We wouldn't be today without this internet. We wouldn't be on the show without this internet.
We would not be. Yeah.
Back in 2003, it was very primitive. You had a
Mhm.
phone on a cradle and it would go ria, 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 15 minutes. And if you got to the other side, you could surf it. But you had to use a very primitive language called DOS.
Mhm.
Didn't have Dr. Google to help you back then. There was no way you could surf the net like we do now. But the internet back then was much like it is now. It's full of the best resources, but full of garbage cans. And you can't tell the garbage cans from the best resources. So I had friends that helped me search it. And I
Mhm.
found a doctor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, by the name of David Marks. He was a brilliant man who was going through what I was going through, but he got worse much more rapidly. And within 2 weeks, he was on his deathbed. Now, he was so beloved by other people that they came up to say goodbye to him. And a doctor from Texas came up, a doctor by the name of Dr. Harvey. And he looked at David and said, I don't have ALS. David whispered and said, what do I have? He said, I think you have chronic Lyme's disease. I've
Mm.
been bitten by a tick and it's mimicking ALS. So David said, what do I do? The doctor said, You just follow my advice and do what I say. And if I'm right, in 2 weeks, you'll be better. And a miracle happened. Dr. Marks was Lazarus rising from the dead. He was back to his usual self within 2 weeks. So
Wow.
I knew I had to call this amazing man.
Hmm.
Well, I called every hospital in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I got in touch with it at the Methodist Hospital. And we talked for hours. And he said, "Can you come down and see me?" I said, "When?" He said, "Right now." I said, "David, it's Thanksgiving Day in Canada. My wife will kill me. She's in
Hmm.
30 people over." He said, "Aren't there any planes in Canada?" So I went by my hat in my hand and I said, "Well, dear, I'm not going to be here for Thanksgiving." She said, "Why?" I said, "There's a doctor in Colorado Springs that claims he can help." Then she did a 180. She said, "Don't worry about those 30 people. I'll take care of them." She said,
Mm.
"But I'll pack your bags for you. I'll take you to the airport. Don't waste time. What are you waiting for?" So I got on a plane from Edmonton to Denver. It was a great flight. Then I got on a flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. It was a rinky dink puddle jumper. Coach James, you ever been on a rinky dink puddle jumper?
I have not, and I do not want to.
Why you don't want to? This flight would be flying along and it would drop 100 feet without warning. It would
Oh gosh.
back up. It would drop 200 feet without warning. It would fly back up. It dropped 300 feet without warning. It was like the drop of dew at Disneyland over,
Oh my gosh.
over, and over again. You see,
Hmm.
it's we're coming off the desert, causing turbulence, causing this terrible, terrible flight. Now, I crawled off that 15-minute flight totally green. And
Hmm.
David Martz on the tarmac to meet me. Back then that was allowed. It was, he said, "Dr. Lycka, you're not looking so good." I said, "I'm not feeling so good." He said, "It's probably a metaphor for what you're going through." And we met and we talked for hours. He said, "I think a miracle is repeating itself. I think you have what I had. I think if I treat you," he said, "you'll get back to your regular self." He said, "I don't guarantee your foot will improve, your head will improve, but I guarantee your disease won't get worse." And so I did what he said. And that's why I'm here in 2026. It was a death sentence in 2003. And here I am in 2026, talking to you, Coach James, talking to your audience. And I'm here to inspire you because, no matter what your darkest day is, no matter what your darkest hardship is, you can overcome it. I know you might not be on your deathbed. I know you might not have ALS. I know you might not have any of these things, but you might be going through a divorce. You might be going through a bad job. You might be going through addiction. You can overcome all these things. And I've talked to over 1,000 people on my syndicated radio show, live with the unshakable famous Dr. L. And we've shown people how they can overcome and thrive. You see, it's not what happens to you, it's what you
Hmm.
do with what happens. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what happens. And that's your reaction. No matter how hard you fall, you'll bounce higher. The harder the fall, the bigger the bounce. Remember that, and you can thrive through any storm.
Awesome story. I love that. And you are absolutely right about if you fall and you get back up. I think Les Brown said it best. He was one of my favorite motivational speakers. He said, if you fall down, make sure you fall on your back because if you can look up, you can get up. I just love that. That resonates within me. But that's along the lines of what you just shared, right? When you are at your worstest time in your life, it doesn't mean that life is over. It's actually time for you to get up and actually start making some changes and take some action.
That's a new beginning. You know, every day we're giving a new beginning to live a new fantastic life. Isn't it amazing that every day the sun comes up? Isn't it amazing that every day you get out of bed, you put your feet on the ground and can reprogram yourself? Every day you're giving that new chance. So doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened a year ago. What happened 10 years ago? Those are your past. You can't fix your past, but you can fix your today. You do things today that can affect your tomorrow. So make sure you do things today that'll affect your tomorrow. And develop some goals, because goals are dreams with a deadline. You know, think about that. Goals are dreams with a deadline. Now, suppose you wanted to get on a sailboat and sail around the world. Well, I wouldn't suggest you do that right off. I'd say get on a sailboat, maybe in Miami, and sail to the first island out there. Back home, your next trip, sail to a further island. Do it, do this over and over and over again. And soon you'll be sailing bigger destinations. You'll be sailing bigger places, and you will be able to go around the world in that sailboat. Remember, goals are dreams with a deadline. So think of your dream, put a deadline, move towards it.
I love that. Goals or dreams with the deadline, right? You may have that goal today, and if you don't take advantage of it, that time's going to expire. It's going to go by, and you're going to be looking 10 years later, asking yourself, why didn't you take that chance and do what you wanted to do?
Yeah, life is like that. Life is an amazing thing. But we all have these false beliefs in our head. We tell ourselves those false beliefs every day. Every day we say stupid things like, I'm not smart enough,
Hmm.
good enough. I can't do that. So, I wrote a little book called Break, Reset, Rebuild. Break, Reset, Rebuild. What this little bit book teaches you is how to break those false beliefs, reset them, and rebuild them. Now, the first thing you do is you tell yourself, that's a stupid thought. What do you mean I'm not smart enough? I got here with my smarts. And then you put the new thought in your head. I am a very smart person. And you keep saying it over and over and over again for a period of 3 weeks, because it takes about 3 weeks to build a new thought in your mind.
Hmm.
And then you reset it. And you do that with your next bad thought. And you do that with your next bad thought. So my book is available on Amazon. It's called Reset, Rebuild. And use that as a guideline to help you get out of those doldrums.
I love that. And just so you know, Dr. Lycka, one thing I normally do for my guests is when they have like books or whatever it is that they want to advertise, I take and put the link within the body of the episode description. So if one of my listeners are interested, they just click on that link, go right to purchase the book, and they're on their very way to receiving it.
Well, that's what I'd love your listeners to do, because I think it's important for them from this day forward to move forward. And a few years ago, I wrote another book called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life. Would you like to know the secrets to living a fantastic life, Coach James?
I know a few secrets, but I don't know them all. But I'm sure yours is much more. I'm sure yours is much more telling than what I think.
It, it's important that you always live by those secrets. My first secret is it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens. That's my first. My second secret is, life is a lot like a golden pearl. A golden pearl lives in the South Pacific in an oyster. And the single solitary pearl is so valuable, it's costs about $10,000 and above. The reason why is because it's rare. And, the golden pearls you have inside yourself are even more valuable than that. Now, I found 13 of them in my book. First one is love. Love is one of the most important pearls that you'll ever have. And in each story, in each chapter of my book, I have a little story. Could I share one of the stories with you, Coach Jay?
Yes, you sure may. Yes, I'm interested in hearing it.
Okay. There once was a little 3-year-old girl who was extremely happy. She was angelic and had curly red hair. She was always singing and playing. She never walked. She skipped everywhere she went. The world was her oyster. From sunup to sundown, everyone who saw her had a smile on her face. She lived alone with her dad, as her mother had died a few years ago. Now, one day, the father got very upset with that little girl. He saw that she was wrapping a box which appeared to be empty. She was going to give it to him at Christmas. Well, she got that box at Christmas and opened, and he really got angry. He said, "You can't be wasting wrapping paper like this. Money's tight. You gave me a box with nothing in it." The little girl laughed at him and said, "Dad, I blew kisses in that box, and they're all for you."
Mm,
You know,
wow.
a little while later, that little girl died in a tragic car accident. Now, the father was very upset. Occasionally he'd take the box out from under the bed and look at it. He'd hear his daughter giggling in his ear. He'd even feel his daughter sitting on his lap. But he was so lonely, he died of a broken heart.
Mm,
To, to heaven. And there was St. Peter at the pearly gates. And he said, "You have to give me something to prove that you deserve to be here." And so the man gave St. Peter the box. And he said, "Enter, my friend. You've given me the gift of pure love." So he went in, and there was his daughter. He said, "I missed you so much." The daughter said, "Why? When I died, God made me into an angel. So,
wow.
and you heard me whispering in your ear. That was me. When I sat on your lap, you could feel me. I never left you alone." So
That's a great story.
these chapters has a little story like that literally helps to bring you into the chapter so you can learn all the wonderful things, all the things that I want to teach you in that chapter. So that when you go away, you live as an even more fulfilled person.
I love that story. One, because a lot of us has dealt with grief, right? Someone passing that we love a lot. And, we think that, hey, once we lose them, we never feel or will have their love again. And this story kind of helps you resonate like, hey, just because you don't feel the love doesn't mean it's not present. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Love is always there. You can't
Hmm.
destroy love. Even if a person leaves you and you're in grief, that person is still loving you. And that love is there. You know, your mother loves you even when they're not there anymore.
Hmm. Wow, great story. So are those your two number one books that are selling now out of the 17 you have, or is those just your two favorite?
Two of my favorites, I've got three more on the works. Uh,
Okay.
currently I'm currently in the process of getting another book out called When Life Changes Everything. All of us are put into a situation where life can change everything tomorrow. Might be given cancer. You might be in a car accident. You might lose a loved one. Well, this book is a blueprint on how to handle that. So what I'm doing is I'm partnering now with a bunch of different organizations to get it out to people. And then I'm going to partner with companies that hopefully will see the need for this book and get it into the hands of everybody.
Hmm.
Time I'm going to put it on Amazon and to make this grow into a movement of resiliency. I want to get it into everybody's hands. So it'll be on Amazon. They'll do some crowdfunding as well. So everybody can get this book. And I want to get it to be in a million hands within the next few years.
I like that. That is great. So that's what your next and up and coming venture is you're working on as we speak.
It's it's not just a book, it's a movement. It's a
Okay.
resiliency movement where, caregivers are going to benefit from it. Doctors, nurses, and patients and their families. You see, when a person gets cancer, the patient themselves is not the only one affected. It's their whole family that's affected. So we have to help everybody in that scenario.
Wow. Yeah. That's definitely true. I know I've had a few family members that passed away from cancer, and it definitely it's one of those diseases that takes a while. And during the timing of it, you go through these different stages of worry, fear, doubt, and then grief before grief even ever happens, right? And then after grief. So it's just definitely understand the stages how that works.
Yeah. And I think many people go through those same phases that I went through:
Hmm.
fear, bargaining, denial, and depression. I think those are very, very common phases that people go through when they're going through a grieving reaction.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about those who deal with functioning depression? Because I think it's a big thing because as you explained earlier, you're in this dark zone where you don't want to get out of bed, you can't sleep, you're staring at the wall. But some of us, and I don't think some of us realize it, we have functioning depression where we walk around and we feel like everything is okay, but it's not okay. And we're depressed, but we don't know how to say we're depressed. So, can you share a little bit about your experience of that if you've had someone or ever dealt with that yourself personally?
First of all, I think it's important for us to tell everybody out there we're not here to diagnose people, but not to give them a diagnosis. This show is meant to give you some meaning and direction. So I think
Right.
the most important thing is if you are feeling that way, you seek professional help. I think that's the most important thing you can do. Your family doctor can certainly be somebody that can help point you in the right direction. I think that's something that a lot of people need to do when these things are happening. If things are not right, check it out, get it checked out. You might think it's depression, but it could be your thyroid that's not working. It could be something that's not working right in your body. So make sure you get it checked out. Don't diagnose yourself. You know, make sure you get something done about it.
Yeah, definitely. And when you brought up the thyroid issue, I kind of smirked, not in a bad way, in a good way, because I was diagnosed probably about 12, 13 years ago with hyperthyroidism. I literally lost 30 pounds in a matter of like 2 weeks. I mean, it was crazy, Dr. Lycka. And so, my emotions were all over the place. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I was hungry every second of the day. Then I was angry with everybody. I couldn't focus. I couldn't function. It was just a horrible feeling. And so at first I thought it was depression. And so I went to my doctor, and just so happened, like your experience, my wife's like, "Hey, get to the doctor," and I'm like, "Well, no, I'll be good. There's Doctor Google. They're going to tell me what's wrong with me." And she's like, "No, no, no, no. You're going to go to the doctor." So I made an appointment. It just so happened that they had an appointment available for an annual, what do you call it, like an annual review of like all your blood and all that other stuff that they normally do at some doctor practice offices. And so they performed that. They did like they did the tray on the different tests, and it came back that my thyroid levels were through the roof. And my doctor was like, "Hey, this doesn't look good." He was like, "I'm sending you to a specialist right now. I'm referring you. Go today. He's available now." So I went over there. They did ultrasound on the thyroid. They want to make sure it wasn't cancerous. Once they discovered that wasn't the case, then they diagnosed me, like I said, with the hyper. And so then I had the procedure where they actually killed off the thyroid. It's the radiation procedure. The procedure wasn't bad. I didn't feel anything. But the best thing that came out of Dr. Lycka is that I got to be in a room for 3 days locked with myself and my video game with no one interfering. and so and so I did that, and I got better over time. And now when you go from hyper, you're now diagnosed with hypo, because I guess that's just how the thyroid works. And so now I take levothyroxine once a day just to give me testosterone. And so I can definitely understand that experience you said about maybe you're not depressed. Maybe it's your thyroid, because your thyroid can give you symptoms of depression. And you could think that your whole world is falling apart, and it's not depression, it's your thyroid.
And that's a great story. And this is what a person needs to do. Self-diagnose. Don't do that. And many men in particular, Coach Jay,
Mhm.
don't go and see their doctor. That's the foolish thing to do.
It is. It is one of the most foolish things that as men that we do. I know I will tell you, I go and have an annual physical every year. And like I said, they do the blood panel. They check my, what is it? I have them check everything that my age group says they should check for me. Colonoscopy, um, what is it, testicle cancer. Like they check for everything, and that just, it's scary at the moment, Dr. Al, because you're like, hey, what if they find something? But once you get your results back and there's nothing, you're like, oh gosh, I'm great, I'm doing great, or I need to work on this. And so I would encourage the men listeners as well. And it's funny, Dr. Like, my analytics tells me that more men listen to my podcast between the age of 35 to 45. So guys, if you're listening, you're hearing this, what Dr. Al and I are sharing with you, it is important that you go to the doctor annually. And even more than that, just to get your checkups, because the last thing I would want for any of you is to go to the doctor and it's too late for you. Because a lot of us have experienced that. And I don't want that for you. And Dr. Al doesn't want that for you. And so we're encouraging you now to go see your normal doctor, or see someone from a physician standpoint, to where you can get an annual checkup and make sure you're good. And if you're not good, guess what? You might have caught it in time, so you will be better in the future.
Exactly. And I think people should listen to this advice. Another thing I think most people need is to realize that it's best in life to have a coach as well. I think everybody needs a coach, and I'm a Ziegler trained coach. So I like to offer to people a 1 hour free clarity session to see how we can help you and see how we can get your life in order. You know, um, that is free, but I only can offer 3 of these a week. So if you want that, you need to get in touch with my team now. My assistant's name is Tammy, Tami, at Lycka, Ly as in yellow, CKA.ca, and put down clarity session. And I'd love to help you and talk to you.
Thank you. That is great. Thank you for sharing that. And to my listeners, please take advantage of that, because everyone needs and can use some type of clarity in their life. Even if your life feels like things are great right now, take advantage of it, because things could be great today, and tomorrow you could be in a whole new atmosphere, and now you're questioning everything. So definitely take advantage of resources when you have them available. And Dr. Like I always share with, some of my clients that, hey, there's a lot of people say there's a lack of resources, right? And because there's a lack of resources, I don't get the health care that I need. I don't get to go get my vision checked, once a year like I'm supposed to. But there's resources out there. And shame on some of us for saying there's no resources. And you have someone like Dr. Al letting you know, hey, there's a clarity session that I could give you at no charge. Here's the information. So take advantage of that. Don't just let that just go and think that, hey, I don't need it right now. Everyone needs a clarity session for anything you may be dealing with, or things may be great. And when things are great, then great, but take advantage of it.
There's an old line, dig your well before you're thirsty. So even if everything's great, you need to get that checked up as well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Agreed. Well, Dr. Like, is there anything else you would like to share today on today's episode?
I think we covered a lot. Remember, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens. You have the power to determine what happens. You have to choose. You have to move forward. And remember, that's a daily event, a daily decision.
Yes. And the question for you, what is a suggestion or some feedback on how can you rewire the way you think?
You know, Rewiring the brain, as I said, one of the ways is to use that book that I suggested to you. Uh, the one you are saying negative thoughts to your life all the time. Every day you're saying these negative thoughts. So rewire it with break, reset, rebuild. Second way is to be quiet, just to be silent every day. Meditate every day. That helps to rewire your brain and get your brain into the right stuff. The third way is to go for a walk in nature. That is something that the Japanese call forest bathing. A walk in nature really helps to rewire your brain. That's a very important thing. Rewiring your brain that way gives you a new life.
Wow, that was great. Thank you for sharing that. And as I stated, Dr. Lycka, I will put all your links within the episode description. So for my listeners, if you're interested, Dr. His links will be in the body of the episode description if you're interested in taking advantage of any of his services.
Thank you so much, Coach James. It was
You're welcome.
my pleasure to be here today.
And I'm glad to have you. And for my listeners, thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my website. It's www.rewirethewayouthink.com. If you are looking for me on Instagram, it is Fast Forward Mindset Podcast. Don't forget to hit the follow button. With the follow button, you'll never miss a moment to rewire the way you think. If you're struggling today with thoughts of suicide, thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else, please don't hesitate to call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Hey everyone, I'm Coach James. Let me help rewire the way you think. And as I always say, if your mindset isn't making you money, it's costing you way too much. And that's my 2 cents on that. Peace. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. And remember, don't rewind your life, fast forward it. Until next time, keep moving forward. Hey y'all, I'm Coach James. Let me help rewire the way you think. All right, y'all. Peace.